Hi, everyone. I am Connie Zabel-Schmucker. I am Advocacy Director at Bicycle Garage Indy. Welcome to our March 2026 Bicycling Lunch and Learn. Today's topic is about Indy area trail updates, and we've got four presenters uh, that are going to talk about their variety of trails that are around central Indiana and the updates that are happening with all of those. And just want to give you a couple of updates. We have five partners on the uh, Cycle Commuter Task Force now. Bicycle Garage Indy, Central Indiana Cycling, Indianapolis Cultural Trail, Commuter Connect, and Health by Design. And thanks to everyone for all of their input this year. And this program is actually arranged by Emily Plunkett from Indianapolis Cultural Trail. So thanks to Emily for that. Next month, we're going to be talking about all the activities that are going to be happening in May. So in April, you get a heads up of what's happening in May, including the trail mixer that is being planned by the Greater Indiana or Greater Indy Trailways. So that will be happening April 25th to May 2nd. And then May 3rd is Bike Fest, which is an event that the Central Indiana Cycling is doing. And there's going to be a bike to vote, so save the date for that. On May 2nd, encouraging people to bike to the poll instead of drive a car. And there will be a bike ride associated with that. And I would be amiss or remiss if I did not mention that this weekend is Bicycle Garage Indy's major uh, Spring Bicycle Expo, a big sale at all four of our locations, and that is going on Friday, Saturday, Sunday this weekend, 13th, 14th, and 15th. Um, Trying to see. So next month is going to be Bike Month activities. May is creating a bike community or bike commuting community. Tips for that. And then June is going to be about bike touring and bike packing. So make sure you register if you want to hear more about any of those. And there's also, yes, the Indiana Walk and Bike Summit. That is going to be on May 5th and 6th. Lots of stuff coming up in the next month. And uh, also kind of want to put this in your mind for November. Um, the Spirit and Place Festival is they do something every year. I think this is their 25th year or something. But this year the theme is connections. It's November 5th to 15th, and trails are great connectivity or connections. And um, there's all sorts of different things you can do as uh, part of the that theme. And their deadline for applying is May 22nd. So I will put a link to that in the chat if you are interested in finding out about it. So without further ado, I will turn this over to Emily. And Greg, if you want to start getting your slides up, that'd be great.
Yes, thank you so much, Connie, for that introduction. My name is Emily Plunkett. I am the Pacers Bike Share Outreach and Education Manager at the Indianapolis Cultural Trail. And I'm actually going to kick it off to Greg, who is here with the National Road Trail. So, Greg, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you very much. Are you able to see my slides now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm Greg Midgley. I'm the president of the 501c3 National Road Heritage Trail Incorporated. I'm also president of the West Side Indianapolis-based White Lick Creek and Vandalia Trail Alliance, which is along this corridor. And I'm going to be giving you an update on the status of the 160-mile cross-state trail initiative, roughly paralleling the historic National Road. This initiative was inspired, just for a little background, the initiative was inspired back in 2004 by benefits of long distance trails that we'd seen around the country, as well as this particular corridor already had 5 or 6 local trails being developed along it. And so, and there was potential, it looked like long term, to get them connected. So we were very interested in working with the organizations to facilitate their planning, as well as where we could help facilitate development of trails along this corridor. Um, I think, yeah, those I basically had touched on that. And one other aspect of this corridor was that it ties in with the Indiana National Road Association's goals to strengthen preservation and awareness of tourism along this corridor too. So it's a 2-for-1 benefit in tourism and lifestyle. So one thing that really helped early on was the state Office of Tourism Development had a grant opportunity, $100,000 we were awarded to develop sort of a high-level master plan for the whole 8 counties that this would go through. And so that was it was very important to have that documentation early on, and then we shared that with each of the local organizations to as a tool for their applying for grants and planning and so on. So that was very helpful. And then the state, around that same time frame, was putting together the statewide plan for visionary trail systems, and so we participated in that, and was one of the corridors highlighted as a backbone across the state, and also included in the 2016 update. And currently, of the 160-mile goal, there are 75 miles open. The green spots along this map show where the trails are open. The solid areas are the paved trails, and the striped areas are the crushed stone or natural surface trails. About 2/3 of the 75 miles is paved. And there's also right now about 4 miles funded for additional trail. You can see in Putnam County as well as Hendricks County. And you see the 2 longest continuous sections there are in Marion and to Hancock County and in Putnam County, but I'll show you in more detail in a bit. But this list of all the trails and their distances are on our website as well. So this, in our brochure. So just as another way to illustrate this, for in the 8 counties, well, looking at the total on the left, there's just over 50% preserved, just under 50% open. The green is the open, and the blue are areas that are preserved but just not developed yet. You see that Putnam County has the highest in both categories. And then through Hendricks, Marion, Hancock, and Henry is sort of the key neighbor areas that are getting connected and so on, whereas Vigo County also has done very well itself. So that just kind of gives a sense of the future potential near term. So in more detail, going through each area out in Vigo County, Terre Haute was one of the initial inspirations for this initiative, and they inspired the name as well. Their local trail was called the National Road Heritage Trail because it closely followed the National Road through Terre Haute. And so from the Wabash River east is through the Terre Haute section. Most recently, they developed a wonderful 1-mile long trail across the causeway to the west of the Wabash River. It's a beautiful scenic area along the Wabashiki Fish and Wildlife area, and then it connects to the trail through the Wabashiki Fish and Wildlife along the edge of that. So that's a very nice corridor through which to explore the natural, the river, city, and some of the scenes. Here's some of the scenes in there. The 2 left photos are in the Terre Haute National Road Heritage Trail section. The upper left one is right there at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology. So you wouldn't even know you were near something. It's just an amazing natural corridor through the city. On the right, the upper right picture is the one on that new Causeway Boardwalk. It's a mile-long boardwalk, basically, connecting Terre Haute with West Terre Haute, which was a key transportation benefit, but also is a beautiful recreational asset. And then the lower right shows a scene along the Packstone Wabashiki Trail that's connected to that. Um, so in the Clay County, you saw there wasn't anything developed there. We had our corridor of interest is certainly along US 40, roughly where the railroad had paralleled near 40. Um, there's no trails currently along this corridor, but in this last year, the Clay County Commissioners had approved a Clay County bicycle and pedestrian plan with the NRHT as a key component. So that was a great big step. Now they're able to start applying for grants and do more detailed planning. And the Clay Community Parks Association, as well as Thrive West Central, which is based in Terre Haute, are leading the effort to implement this plan. So it's exciting to see Clay County getting some momentum going there. And Putnam County, it's a very developed system growing there around Greencastle and across the county. Like I said, they have the most miles of trail open along this corridor. Part of it going from Greencastle east connects into Hendricks County along the Vandalia Trail. Then they have their paved Campus Link Trail coming across the town, and the dotted area in the middle, they actually have a Next Level Trails grant to complete that 1.8 miles across the city, and construction has already started. So hopefully next year we'll have that connection. So it will connect the Vandalia Trail across to the Putnam Nature Trail, which goes southwest from Greencastle almost to Reelsville. And that's you can see on the lower inset map on the right, it shows the whole span with a couple of gaps, but it's pretty exciting to see that. Most of the trails outside of the city, all the trail outside of the city are a nice packed stone surface, and then within the city it's paved. That's a really wonderful destination there too, with the DePaul Nature Park very nearby, and several parks and other trails within Greencastle. And there's some scenes here on the left, a couple of the Vandalia Trail paved packed stone. Upper right is within Greencastle, the paved trail, and then the lower right is the Putnam Nature Trail packed stone at one of its trailheads. In Hendricks County, it's a great connection between Putnam and Marion County. The Vandalia Trail in Plainfield was one of the first ones that inspired this initiative, and that's now been extended all the way to the Marion County line, as well as Hendricks County Parks has taken on the portion in the western part of the county from Amo to Coatesville, which then connects directly to Putnam County's trail. And then Hendricks County Parks owns a fair amount of the area in that gap in that trail. And they've actually last year built and opened a trailhead in a short section within the town of Clayton. And then that will lead within the next year or two, they'll be building another 2 miles going west from there towards Amo. So it's really exciting to see that gap starting to be filled in. And it's wonderful when you get towards the east there. It's a great connections with the Ronald Reagan Parkway Trail that goes north and it connects into the B&O Trail. So, within the county as well as over in Marion County, it's a really nice network of long trails connecting in together. Let's see, and there's some photos here. Hendricks County Parks had paved for many years. We operated the Vandalia Trail in western Hendricks County as a rustic trail, and then Hendricks County Parks came in and was able to get some grants and upgraded it to paved with some nice trailheads. You can see all these photos are in the Amo to Coatesville area with the old railroad bridge across the creek. It's a very scenic, very popular. Once it got paved, the traffic on it increased by tenfold at least. It was amazing, the difference. It was popular before, but it just went nuts once it was paved and upgraded. And then in Plainfield, a wonderful paved trail across the town and natural areas. It connects many parks. The aquatic center it goes right by. And this section is about 21 years old now. The first section that was by the aquatic center. The logo, the Vandalia Trail logo, we were very fortunate and happy to thankful the new Indy Greenways. I cannot remember the name of this. Trailways, Greater Indy Trailways Initiative. Part of that, they developed some new logos for trails around the area, and Vandalia Trail didn't have a logo, so they developed that with public input, working through us and other organizations. And so it's nice to have a logo to combine these different sections of the Vandalia Trail into one common theme. Getting to Marion County, this is the longest from the White River State Park going east across through the Pensy Trail into Hancock County. It's 21 miles long, the longest continuous section of NRHT trail open. And then on the west side, going by the airport and coming into downtown, the White Lick Creek and Vandalia Trail Alliance is working to develop that as in part and also in conjunction with a north-south trail that would connect right at the west end of that along the east fork of the White Lick Creek. So this is with that, with that connection to be made in the future, trail could be all the way from Plainfield all the way out to Greenfield, basically, continuous. So we're excited about that potential. Um, some of the scenes along there on the west end of that is the old Washington Street Bridge going over to the zoo in downtown Indy. The Indianapolis Cultural Trail obviously is a key part of this and the center part of the corridor, and then the Pensy Trail going out east to Hancock County. It's just, it's a wonderful connection. It's all been together. And it's great to see several sections of these trails as you go across the state. Sometimes they'll actually integrate the National Road Heritage Trail logo into their signage to highlight that this is part of a bigger initiative, this local trail. And we also had developed our own signs that we gave to some cities, aluminum 6-inch signs that they've tacked onto their signs too. So it helps to provide that context. And then looking further east into Hancock County, you see where the trail coming through Cumberland and on to the edge of Philadelphia is open and paved. And then Greenfield Trail was one of the first ones that inspired this as well. There's a 1.5-mile gap between right around Philadelphia, and the Hancock County Highway Department and commissioners have just started the formal public input process to develop that 1.5 miles. And so that's great to see that's and we understand it's actually going to be done through the highway department, through highway funds and so on. It's not, and so it's exciting to see that initiative being there, to really tie Greenfield into all this. It's a few scenes along there, and in Cumberland on their Pensy Trail, they have the solar system model, which adds an extra little interest. Different panels for the 9 planets going out, at their representative distances. So it kind of gives you an interesting perspective. And then in the lower left, one of the new sections that the not-for-profit group Pensy Trails of Hancock County had coordinated to get developed. That group outside of the Cumberland and Indianapolis areas and Greenfield areas, that not-for-profit group has done an amazing job in getting that gap closed up between Cumberland and Greenfield, and other scenes on the Pensy Trail in the county. And the Greenfield Pensy Trail is just wonderful right through the center of town. Beautiful natural areas right through and they have a really amazing new city park developed downtown Greenfield that the trail goes right through and is a big part of. It's definitely a destination. Then out into Henry County, they were also one of the originals, and these trails are mostly packed stone or natural surface at this point. Wonderful for walking or mountain bike or even hybrid bike. There's 2 sections that are about 4 miles each, and they are actively developing in the Dunreath area. In the middle, there's a bridge that had been removed years ago, so they're working on replacing that, as well as other sections of the trail corridor and connections within Dunreath to make that a continuous trail. But right now, it's just like you get on to 40 for a quarter mile to get around that gap right now. And it's low traffic side streets and then the short bit on 40 so it's easily ridden the whole length back and forth. And there's along there's a couple of restaurants to go stop eat at, and that's a lot of these corridors, a lot of these sections have great destinations to rest places to eat, sights to see. Many of these sections have historic National Road information panels, interpretive panels along them that the Indiana National Road Association had installed. So it's nice to tie in with the National Road history as well. These are some of the scenes in Henry County of the Packed Stone Trail sections. In the lower right, this is the lower right photos from one of our annual bike ride out there, and it usually gets a lot of the fat tire bikes in our group riding. So it's fun to see that. And then in Wayne County, the open sections, there's a short section in Centerville that they built to connect their center of their city out to a new neighborhood. And then Richmond has built 2 sections, one that's along the Riverside Trail on the east side of town, and then one that's right downtown that is the same format and sort of function as the cultural trail in Indianapolis. And they've done a really nice job with that, getting across the river and up to the retail or commercial district. And from that point near where those 2 intersect, where the Cardinal Greenway comes in from the north, the the Cross Country Great America Rail Trail Initiative by the Rails Trails Rails to Trails Conservancy intersects. So from the center of Richmond to the Ohio state line, there's a yet additional impetus of that cross-country rail trail to develop. So we'll share that with them. So it's good to have that partnership. And these are just scenes in Centerville in the upper left, that short trail going east. And then the Richmond Bike Loop, which does a nice job of getting people through downtown, and the Riverside Trail. And that covers the corridor. One thing I'd like to add is through the summer, May, April through September, we have monthly bike rides on a Saturday morning on each of the open sections of the trail. So it kind of gets us to every year to each section to see how they're developing and so on. Plus, it provides an easy way to invite others to come join and explore the different sections of it. So on our website, we have those listed, and we have Facebook events created for each of those. So certainly, please come join us on those rides to explore different sections. And we always stop at a local restaurant for lunch as part of the ride. Thank you.
Greg, thank you so much. I was really excited when you said yes to presenting today. I think what you shared gives a great overview of what's happening, across the central part of our state, and really some great inspiration. Today I think is all about that inspiration as the weather continues to warm up and people are ready to get back outside riding. It's fun to see all those different possibilities and, for the future of this corridor. So, Greg, thank you so much. Next, we're going to kick it over to Jeff Smallwood from the B&O
Emily,
Trail Association.
while he's
Oh,
doing that, I'm gonna, there are a couple of comments and maybe Greg might have some more information. Someone commented that they heard that Ronald Reagan's trails continuation north from 715 north in Hendricks County is not funded for the next phase of the northward, I can't talk today, highway expansion. Didn't know if you knew anything about that. And then another person said that they developed the town of Amo's first master park plan last year, and they're planning a small park at the trailhead and are working with the Hendricks County Park Department on making the connection to Clayton. And
Yes, yeah. On the Ronald Reagan Parkway Trail, I'm not sure about I don't know about the future. I know that for the longest time that it ended around just before just south of I-74. It ended, and then they just recently opened up from where the Ronald Reagan Parkway, actually the road extended north from 56th Street north for another mile or two, just recently opened. So there's a gap between there, and I don't know if that's the section they were talking about is not funded between I-74 and 56th Street. But there's the part that's the original part. It's a 9 mile long trail. It's amazing. The Ronald Reagan Parkway Trail from there all the way down to Plainfield in itself is an amazing connection as well as trail. And that was for AMO. Yeah, it's exciting to see their parks activities going on with AMO to expand that trailhead area in AMO as a destination. And there's the restaurants and ice cream shop nearby there. And so yeah, that's great, a great little destination.
great. We'll cover the other comments and questions in our Q&A. So I will turn it back over to Emily.
and I'm just going to turn it right over to Jeff. So
Okay.
whenever you're ready, Jeff.
Are you seeing my slide? My slides?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Jeff Smallwood. I'm the current president of the B&O Trail Association. I've been involved with the organization since the mid-90s, and I've been the president for probably the last 5 or 6 years. And what I'm going to do today is just give you an overview of the trail as it exists today, kind of using a map format, and then I'll show some pictures that highlight some of the features along the trail. Our original vision was to develop a long-range rail trail all the way across West Central Indiana that could be used for multiple users: walkers, bicyclists, inline skaters, all kinds of users, including much of it would also have a parallel equestrian trail. This is kind of a long-range vision as originally seen from all the way from the near downtown Indianapolis, across through Speedway, across Claremont, the south side of Brownsburg, across Hendricks County to North Salem, and then it would proceed across the north part of Putnam County through Roachdale and Russellville, and then meander through Park County past Marshall, Bloomingdale, and down to Montezuma. Uh, None of this across Putnam or Park County has been developed. However, there is already a bridge across the Wabash River in Montezuma, and the trail continues for about a mile west of that, which was developed by the Vermilion Trails Alliance, excuse me, a couple of years ago. It's not a lot of distance to really drive your bike all the way out there to ride, but it's really worth going out there to take a look at. The bridge is beautiful, and it's really nice to see what they're doing out in that area. So this is what we have today. We have a 16-mile paved trail all the way from where Michigan Street meets the White River out to County Road 250 East in Hendricks County. If you'll notice, the town of Pittsboro is just north of that, so the end of the trail is just pretty much due south of the town of Pittsboro. We would love to see a connector pathway along this county road from Pittsboro down to the trail, and I think there are a lot of people in Pittsboro have expressed an interest in that as well. But so just starting out kind of at Michigan Street, that along Michigan Street is actually a separated bike lane from Michigan Street for about a mile and a half there. And then out here, if you're all familiar with the West Side, there's an old Kroger out here, and there's a IU Health clinic right at this junction. But at that point, it goes on to the old abandoned rail corridor and continues in a northwest direction. As far as parking opportunities, there's one small park here called Olin Park. There's a basketball court and some other amenities there. And there's also a small amount of parking and with a direct connection to the B&O Trail. Then proceeds west to Speedway. It crosses 10th Street right here with a nice hawk signal crossing. It's a user-activated signal. When you get to Leonard Park, there are restrooms and parking at Leonard Park, which is right off Lyndhurst Drive, just on the west side of Lyndhurst Drive. And then it goes across the Eagle Creek Bridge. Is a really scenic spot right here over Eagle Creek. It then goes through a tunnel to go under 465. It also goes under a tunnel to go under Girls School Road, which is nice. And the tunnel there has got murals painted in it, which will make it a nice destination, a nice feature along the trail. Right here on the west side of Girls School Road is the Chapel Rock Christian Church, and they have generously allowed us to use part of their parking lot as trail parking. And so there's parking there, and there's going to be a tool station, one of those posts that have got a cable with tools connected to it for bicycles. So that is not there yet. You can park there now, but the tool station, the whole trailhead has not finished construction yet. We continue west from there. You cross 21st Street, then you cross Country Club Road, then Raceway as you head into Hendricks County. There's a park here. Well, after you go under the Ronald Reagan Parkway, and I would point out that at Ronald Reagan Parkway there are murals in the tunnel there that are nice to see, and then you come to Virgil Park, which is another location where we have restroom and parking and another one of those tool stations that one can use. We pass an area where this is kind of a side note, but the Bicentennial Trail takes off south from the B&O Trail. It only goes for about 2 miles down to about 10th Street, but that's another option, another connectivity there. We go west into Brownsburg, cross Hornaday Road, and there's another park, Cardinal Park, which has restrooms, parking, and a tool station. At Green Street, there's a parking, but no restrooms. There is a shelter there, donated in part by the Brownsburg Rotary Club, so we call it the Rotary Shelter. Then you cross the White Lick Creek Bridge. It's a beautiful spot on the trail. I'll show some pictures of that in a little bit. And then eventually you get out to the Tilden Trailhead. It's along County Road 500E. We have a sculpture that was commissioned there. I'll show you pictures of. We've got parking, and then we have a portable toilet. There's no access to water there, so we just have to have a portable toilet, but it's better than nothing. We've been out here, especially for walkers. It's a pretty long stretch all the way from Cardinal Park, which is the nearest full function bathrooms, all the way out to the end of the trail. That's a pretty good distance. So it's nice to have those portable toilets there. So just to show you some of those highlights, this is starting, the left of this is the bike lanes along the side of Michigan Street. As you can see, it's completely separated from the traffic lane, so it's very safe, very nice place to ride. On the right here is where we cross 10th Street. So there's the Hawk signal system there. A user pushes a button, they turn red for motorists to stop, and then after a few seconds, they allow the motorists to go again. This is once you get to Leonard Park. This is just the kind of showing the park there. These are the restrooms that are at Leonard Park. The parking is actually just a little bit west of the park itself, right on the trail. This is a view from the bridge over Eagle Creek. And as we, excuse me, as we continue farther west, this is just some cyclists, actually last summer, riding along the new section of trail. Way in the background is the tunnel under Girls School Road. And then this is a close-up picture of that tunnel under Girls School Road. This is so up here where all the cars are, that's the parking we have at Chapel Rock Christian Church. There's a pathway going down to connect to the trail that you can't see because it's covered with people. This was our ribbon cutting that we had in early October of last year, and it's amazing how many people attended this ribbon cutting. I was really excited about that. So this shows you the trail, the connectivity up to the parking lot with folks at the ribbon cutting. This is just a young family out on the trail enjoying it right where it crosses 21st Street. And this is where we have another one of the Hawk systems where a user-activated signals for stopping folks, and just a young family out. This little kid was on one of those little balance bikes, just motoring along as fast as he could go. It was kind of cute. Oh yeah, this is an underpass on the left side. This is during the summer. This is an active CSX rail line, so we built this shelter under it, canopy under it, just to protect users for the potential of any kind of debris would fall off a train or off the tracks as they're riding under it. So here's a person using that last summer. This is a photo someone took during the winter of that same location. Just makes a beautiful photo. In fact, it looks almost surreal, like it's an artist's drawing or something, but that's actually a photo. This is the tunnel once you get to Ronald Reagan Parkway. This whole thing is full of murals. You can't really see them because of the lighting, but it's a really cool spot to see. And this is a feature we have just outside the tunnel. It gives some directions up here on the signage. It gives some historical information on the round sign, and it models the old posts that were used along the railroads. As you get into Brownsburg, this is a picture of Virgil Park from the air. That's one of the places where we have parking. You can see the parking here on this semicircle. Over here is this small building, is a restroom. There's a shelter there, and then there's a trail that goes back and connects to the B&O trail. The B&O is the one back here along the trees. And then Cardinal Park, I couldn't find a good picture of Cardinal Park that showed you the facilities, so I just stuck this in there. At least shows the park. It's actually the largest parking space along the B&O trail currently. It's got a pretty large parking lot that holds about 40 cars. And there's also a dog park there that's very popular. If any of you are dog lovers and looking for a place to take your dogs, you might go out to Brownsburg and look for Cardinal Park. Also in Brownsburg, where it crosses under Northfield Boulevard and also County Road 300N, there are tunnels, and they've done some nice murals on those tunnels. The one up here at the top has a racing theme, and then the one down here has a floral theme. But those are a couple more tunnels where we've got some nice murals in them. And again, when you cross Green Street, which is for old 267 in Brownsburg, we have another Hawk system there, which allows trail users to stop motorists temporarily. And at that Green Street parking area, we have got this shelter here where one can stop and rest, have a snack, just get out of the sun if it's hot, that sort of thing. Moving on to the White Lick Creek Bridge. This is the bridge from creek level. This is the view looking from the bridge. This was actually during the winter when there was some snow along the creek, and some people are just using the trail there in the summertime. And moving on out to then the Tilden trailhead, we've got a parking lot there that will accommodate approximately 20 cars. We've got a bike rack there, a couple of memorial benches for people to sit, and we have this sculpture there. The title of the sculpture is Homeward. It was designed by the guy in the blue T-shirt here is David Vertochnik. He's the artist who designed and built and installed the sculpture there. Something we're very proud of and very pleased to see in that location. And then finally, this is pretty much the farthest end of the trail. Along there, we planted these sumac trees that turn a nice red in the fall. And that's again, that's just that ends kind of tees into County Road 250E. From that point, you're out far enough in the country, it's very safe to just get out on the country roads and ride those with very minimal traffic at that point. So I know we've got a limited amount of time, so I won't spend much time on our future plans. We do have some plans for work to be done in 2026, might extend a little bit into 2027. This is like a map of all the way across Hendricks County. The green is what we already have constructed, and I won't spend a lot of time on that, but I will show you here in the small community of Maplewood, which is about a mile west of where the trail currently ends. We are actually planning to build a paved trail for 3/10 of a mile through that community. I'm sorry, the area that's already been cleared. That's actually work supposed to start next week. So by sometime in April, we should have that paved and open. And then just west of that, there's actually, if you look at the left side here, there's the old railroad abutments are still there. This is a legal drain that goes through here. It's called Barnett Ditch. And we're going to be constructing a bridge over that this year. The designing and permitting activities are already ongoing. We expect to have that completed this year. And then that will give us the opportunity to then pave another 1.5 miles of trail along that same section where that bridge is. And again, this there has already been cleared. It's just ready for us to get out there and do the work. And that's all in the plans for 2026, and some could extend into 2027. But so just a quick overview. I think that's all I've got. Oh, I did want to mention our annual fundraising bike ride. It's on June the 13th this year. The staging area will be Cardinal Elementary School in Brownsburg. And there's a convenient QR code over here on the left if you want to take a quick picture of that, or you can always go to our website, which is botrail.org, and get all the information. So thank you for your attention.
Jeff, thank you so much. It's so exciting hearing about this great connection, in Hendricks County and West and Marion County, and thank you for all of those great call outs for those amenities along the trail as well, parking and restrooms and, lovely parks along the way too. If you haven't yet ridden the B&O Trail, I would highly recommend it. I rode it a couple of weeks ago. I've got a friend in Speedway, and it was so nice to ride from Indianapolis down to Sear. So Jeff, thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
All right. And I'm going to jump in now from the cultural trail. So I'm going to share my screen here. All righty. So, like I said earlier, I am with the Indianapolis Cultural Trail. I usually work more on the bike share team, but today I'm putting on my Cultural Trail hat to share more about our Cultural Trail expansions. So, the trail is both a linear park and a nonprofit organization that works to maintain that linear park. So, we have over 20 full and part-time staff members doing everything from maintaining the trail itself and its gardens to repairing bikes and stations with our Pacers bike share program, organizing free bike rides and exercise classes along the trail as well. Our largest program is the Pacers Bike Share Program. We operate Indy's community bike share program, which includes over 50 stations throughout our system, a mix of classic and electric bikes, and 2 free pass programs, including one for Marion County residents, Indy Rides Free. Alrighty, and wrong way. There we go. The trail itself is what we work to maintain as well. It is an internationally recognized linear park, the Indianapolis Cultural Trail, a legacy of Gene and Marilyn Glick. The vision for the trail itself was to connect Indianapolis's cultural districts to create, inspire connections and cultural experiences that are accessible for all. So not only does the trail connect those cultural districts, it also connects to trails throughout the city. Like we've heard a little bit about before, that includes the Monon, the Fall Creek Trail, the White River, Wapahani Trail, and Pogues Run, just to name a few. We now include over 10 miles of trail with over 5 acres of public gardens with a focus on native plants and 11 pieces of public art as well. On this next slide, I've got a map of the cultural trail. The image shows the dark blue section is the original trail. That was opened in 2013. Um, and then in 2024, we opened our segments along Indiana Avenue and 10th Street and along South Street as well. And the next expansion will be along the White River, so crossing the White River there. All right. So just to touch on those expansions that we opened 2 years ago now, which is just crazy to believe. Our Indiana Avenue and 10th Street expansion opened in June of 2024. It's approximately 1 mile and it runs along the historic Indiana Avenue, connecting the Madam Walker Legacy Center to the hospital and university campuses and to the 16 Tech Bridge, which will get you to the White River Wapahani Trail. This expansion connects to the Fall Creek Trail as well. It also includes our first public art piece that includes sound, the Indiana Avenue Sound Experience, highlighting music and musicians that have their roots on Indiana Avenue. Right. And our second expansion that we opened in 2024 was along South Street. This segment is a little over 1/2 mile and it connects the Wholesale and Fountain Square districts to Lucas Oil Stadium and the Indiana Convention Center. This expansion adds more than 12,000 square feet of public gardens, including new trees and stormwater planters, along with improved lighting and bike racks. This segment will also connect to the next expansion, the White River expansion. All right, so this expansion is not yet open, unlike those other two that I mentioned. The design for this is almost complete, and it will add another mile to the cultural trail. This will cross the White River on the new Henry Street Bridge. Got an image right here showing that is currently under construction with the cool circles, of course. It will cross the White River on that bridge and will connect the near West Side neighborhoods to Elanco headquarters, to the Wholesale District, Lucas Oil Stadium, and Stadium Village. And short and sweet, that's what I've got for you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email is up here on the screen. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. And Kevin, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Kevin is here. Kevin Senninger is here talking about the Nickel Plate Trail.
Good afternoon, everybody. Again, as Emily said, my name is Kevin Senninger. I'm with BRAG, Binford Redevelopment and Growth. So we're a little bit different than a lot of the groups. We kind of have more of a neighborhood organization where we sort of adopted the Nickel Plate Trail as part of our that was part of our efforts. That we do a number of other things, run a farmers market and different things. So this is new to us, but we're trying to. I think one of my goals in attending this meeting and future meetings is to try and get some of the dedicated cyclists and other riders to help us along as we start to develop the Nickel Plate Trail as part of our overall initiatives that we're doing at BRAG. I can share my screen. I think I got a couple of slides to hopefully help people get a sense of what the Nickel Plate Trail is about. Again, can everybody see that? Got it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So the Nickel Plate Trail, as you can see, is essentially a little over 9.5 miles within Indianapolis, but will eventually connect all of, become a regional trail linking all the way up through Noblesville to the Midland Trace Trail. And then you can then circle back around to the Monon Trail, and which essentially gives you a 42-mile loop to ride. I've not ventured much beyond Marion County at this point myself, but eventually I hopefully will be doing that. So it's going to be a great addition to the regional network of trails throughout central Indiana, which is going to be great. The downside to that right now is the fact that there are still a couple of missing links as part of the trail work. Specifically right now, if you can see, it's a little hard to see, a little smaller. But along essentially the Nickel Plate Trail through Indianapolis parallels Binford Boulevard. And again, that's kind of where our group came from, Binford Redevelopment and Growth. We've been around for 20 plus years, but the trail actually we had our ribbon cutting just last October, so it's just opened. It's been getting a lot of use already, and we haven't even hit the peak season of cyclists and others using the trail. But right now extends essentially from the fairgrounds and the Monon Trail up north again, to essentially 75th Street, where it ends because of the Clear Path 465 project has it closed until INDOT will be responsible for finishing that last section of the trail underneath 465. Hopefully they're telling us at the end of this year they'll be done with that section of the trail, and then there will be a complete link from essentially the state fairgrounds north through Fishers, and as you saw, up continuing north into Noblesville. Many of you may have seen Fishers had their ribbon cutting for the Nickel Plate Trail Bridge over 96th Street last week or a couple of weeks ago, which is great. So now we just got to finish that little segment south of there to 465 and under there. I did attend a meeting last week, a couple of things that are in the works with the Nickel Plate Trail. There is a bridge planned to cross Keystone, just north of the 46th Street along Keystone, if you're familiar with the near northeast side of Indianapolis. DPW did a short presentation last week and presented that plan for the bridge. It's going to essentially be a bit of a diagonal across Keystone. They are planning for that to, let me get this right, construction of that is anticipated to start in the summer of 2027 and be wrapped up at the summer of 2028. So that's a couple more years out before that bridge will be done. But so currently there's essentially at grade crossings of the trail at 46th Street. So that's how you can sort of take the trail in the meantime until that bridge gets built. There is also the bridge planned for 82nd Street up in Castleton. That's another one that's a couple of years out. That's currently in the design phase. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I guess I can show that. The 82nd Street Bridge is going to be happening a little further out, not until 2028. What they're talking about that coming online or construction to begin, and that being completed in 2029. The MPOs help fund a lot of the bridge work for these two bridges, which is great. And I think obviously that will help with safety, especially in the Castleton area and crossing 82nd Street. So we'll be looking forward to that getting completed. I'm trying to look here, some of the other things that we're working on. It's really kind of new for us trying to take this on to figure out how we can best utilize the trail as an amenity for the neighborhoods in the northeast side of Indianapolis, but then also as my goal is to work in close, a little closer with some of the cycling communities so that we can start to really take this on and have them sort of adopt the trail from the state fairgrounds up into Noblesville. Who knows? But we're here to help kind of be a part of that process and do what we can to help and stay in the know as best as we can with some of the trails throughout Indianapolis, but also then the Nickel Plate Trail. And I think one of the exciting things that we're working on right now is then just working on some of the cleanups and helping with DPW in the city to keep it clean as best we can. And we've got some neighbors that have taken that on, which has been great. So I'd love to maybe future these lunch and learns, maybe get a little more details of some of the photos of the trail in use. And in the meantime, it's been up and running. And one of the key things that we're working on too is just safety. I think it was in one of the comments earlier, is getting to the Nickel Plate Trail, which can be a bit of a challenge sometimes with some of the east-west crossings. So there are connections to Somm Park up in the northeast side and then to Eastwood Middle School. So there are a few of those spurs that we have. But we'd love to have more just to connect neighborhoods to the trail. And as was noted, there is a big Nickel Plate Trail cleanup April 25th. As part of the Central Indiana Cycling and Bragg, we're kind of help sponsor that. It's going to be a big cleanup on April 25th that we're looking forward to. And just doing our part to promote the trail as best we can and, get more people on it. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Kevin, for sharing. Oh my goodness. It's so exciting hearing about all that's planned and all that's currently happening with the Marion County side of the Nickel Plate Trail. I'm really excited specifically about this one. I grew up along the Nickel Plate, and I can only imagine the impact that, having this safe, protected corridor for cyclists and people walking, I can only imagine the impact that that's having. So, thank you also to Tess and Tony for popping in those. Important notes about that trail cleanup happening on April 25th. There is information for how to sign up there in the chat, so be sure to check that out. And then, Kevin, I believe there was a question in the chat for you as well from
Mm.
Tony. Is Bragg promoting zoning changes along the Nickel Plate corridor to reflect trail-oriented development? Kind of similar to what's happening along the Monon Trail. Don't know if you could
Yeah,
speak to that.
we a couple of years, 2 or 3 years ago, we actually did have a consultant develop some essentially some redevelopment strategies, some land use activities that we could start to promote to again try and get people thinking about redevelopment along the trail that could occur. So we did that study about 3 years ago that essentially looked at nodes of redevelopment around 82nd Street in the crossing at 71st Street and then down at 62nd Street. So like I said, we did little cut sheets of what that could start to look like. I will say what a good example of how that's starting to take hold is at 62nd in Allisonville, that Windermere Shopping Center that's started to see some reinvestment. And in talking to the owners of that property, Paragon Realty, they're very excited about the trail. They're helping to promote this cleanup on the 25th of April. And so I envision Bragg being able to do is to try and continue those conversations and connect people as best we can between cycling community, redevelopment community, those types of things. So I'd be happy to share those cut sheets with anyone if they're interested on that redevelopment strategies that we proposed.
Fantastic. Thank you so much,
Hmm?
Kevin. Do we have any other questions? Tony,
Yeah, we
thank you
had a
for
couple
popping in
of
these.
questions. We also have a link to Indigo's new map.
Mm.
Um, I don't know if you want to click on that, Emily, and then share it. Um, so Indigo has a new route map of all of their different bus routes, but they also incorporated trails on that map. So you can see how you can take trails to get to the Indigo bus lines, which they just did that literally a month ago. I think I mentioned the Bike and Walk Summit. There is a swap meet and greet in the Riverside neighborhood by Black Girls Do Bike, Riverside Riders and Major Taylor Elite Club on Saturday from 12 to 4 at Riverside Park. That information's in the chat. Um, let's see. There's a new website for Central Indiana Cycling. Uh, covered that. Then there was a question, how do trail users typically get from home to a trail? Um, I personally ride because I ride through the neighborhoods to get to Fall Creek Trail, my trail that I always go on. But I'm sure there are others that drive to a trail and find a place to park and then take off. But uh, yeah, and then Glenn Grice also showed a picture of the end of the Monon Trail up in Hamilton County. This is where the county line ends and where the trail ends. Unfortunately, they've put this barricade up that you cannot get around unless you physically go around it. Um, I was there were 5 or 6 trail openings last fall, and I went to 5 of the 6. And I went to the end of this and saw this, and I was like, surely they're not going to have this open because there's no way to get to the road very easily. There's not an easy connection. So I'm not sure who owns that, whether it's Hamilton County or the town of Sheridan. Um, but yeah, that's not a recommended end of trail barricade. It also makes it difficult for somebody who's on the road to get to the trail, who has come from that road, use it as a drop, as a point of access. Let's see. And a question about, is the B&O completed from Speedway to Hendricks County? Yes, actually, I went to the trail opening of the B&O that Jeff showed that wonderful, all the hundreds of people who were there. I rode from my house on the northeast side of town, and the first mile of my ride was not on trail, but everything else was on trail all the way out there, which was pretty amazing. The 35-mile round trip for me. Let's see.
Connie, I do have that map from Indigo that I can share.
Yeah, if you want to share that, that's great. Trying to see if there's anything else.
Yeah, so trails appear on this map as the dotted brown along here. So Fall Creek is right there. The nickel plate is included. There is an inset for downtown as well. So showing the Cultural Trail and the White River Wapahani Trail as well. And thank you, Connie, for calling that out and sharing this in the chat. I will share it
Yeah.
once again.
And then Pokes Run Trail is in final phase from Brookside Park to the Art and Nature Park. Is going to be finished in June, which is exciting. And yeah, so I will put this presentation up on BGI's YouTube channel, and I will put all of the links that were in the chat in the description of the video, so that if you didn't get them here, you'll be able to find them as well. And the link to the video will be up on the Bicycle Lunch and Learn webpage on BGI's website. So, thank you all for coming. We had, lots and lots of chat. We don't usually have quite this many comments in the chat, but that was great. It's exciting to hear about all the different kind of connections and the different trails. It really brought home to me, because I tried to ride my bike to most of the trail openings, how connected things are getting. There's still, of course, things that are not connected, um, but yeah, there's a lot of great places you can go um, just by connecting this trail to this trail to this trail. So, but thank you all for presenting. Thank you, Emily, for pulling this program together, and we'll see everybody next month. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you all.